the thing is that we've just always done it like that.
Right.
We've just always lived and died by our third-party leads. We've just always really cared about impressions and not interactions on our website.
Hey, welcome to this special episode of the Dealer Playbook podcast. We are live at NADA 2024. I'm sitting with my pal, Adrian Gibbs. She is the marketing director at Nimnicht Family Group of Dealerships. Did I say that?
Yeah, Nimnicht Family of Dealerships. Nimnicht Auto.
All right, so many ways to say it. The bottom line is we're going to be getting the inside scoop into retail automotive from an active, everyday, boots on the ground marketing director. Stay tuned. Adrian, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Wait a minute. Did you say you worked in pharmaceutical before this? Plastic surgery?
Plastic surgery, yeah.
This is where we must start before we get into today's subject matter. It just hit me. I'm like, wait a minute. Did she just gloss over the fact you worked in plastic surgery for how long?
11 years.
Are you a nurse? Like, what do you mean by I worked in plastic surgery?
This is a great story, and I'll give you like the bullet point version, but I was a nanny in college for one of the surgeons. And then after school and after I got married and they didn't need me anymore and I was transitioning to, what am I going to do? And they didn't need me at the house, and the surgeon's wife was like, can't she come work at the office? And so I actually started filing charts, paperwork. They trained me to be a medical assistant.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they did. And the administrator at the time just thought, wow, she's the youngest and smartest one here, and she knows computers. She can fix my mouse. And so I got moved up to the administrative office.
I'm already seeing a parallel to automotive right out of the gates here.
And I kind of became her assistant, and she saw that I had a creative brain. She knew I had gone to school for art and marketing, and she trusted me, and I cut my teeth and I learned everything there is about websites and marketing, all in plastic surgery. So we could talk about Botox or...
Okay, but give me the deal here. I know, I'm sure there comes a point where you're sitting at that desk and you see the same person walking through those doors and you're thinking, maybe 10% more and then call it quits. Versus the one that's like, I don't know, should we tell them they're a 62-year-old that they think they now look like a 24-year-old, but now they just look like a 62-year-old who was caught in a fire?
Well, the best thing about that job was, just like you said, I was in my early 20s, and I was emceeing all of our events. I was kind of the face of the practice.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, why are these ladies going to trust me, And I would just joke all the time and say that I was actually 65, and that's just how good the surgeons were. And so then we just won them over with my humor. But it was so much fun. And, when you recognize someone at the grocery store, that was you just had to kind of pretend like you didn't know them because HIPAA. And then, but actually, maybe you don't even recognize them anymore. That's how good they looked. So there's so many jokes to go with that. But there's actually a lot of good that happens in that industry. And I got to partner with a lot of nonprofits, and I got to do a lot of things. And I learned so much. And it's a very competitive market, which is one of the things that when I jumped into automotive, I thought, oh, I know this. There are, pop-up shops on every corner now.
Sure. And
it was like that then. And so that competitive nature and fighting for keywords and fighting for market share and all those things are something that I was doing back then in that industry, and was able to transfer that over into here pretty easily.
What made you leave that industry, and how did you find your way into automotive?
So I had reached kind of a ceiling there, and there was some changeover in administration coming, and I knew that the new person was going to make some changes in marketing, and I wanted to go out on my own terms, and I wanted to leave with my ROI intact, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually had the opportunity to go be the executive director for a nonprofit that I had been raising money for, and used my platform there. and they offered me an opportunity to come work for them. And so I got to spend the next six years in nonprofit and learned even more in that. And I had so much fun. And to give back every day as your career was a really, really cool experience. And then I actually drafted a partnership that eliminated my position. And it was the best thing for the nonprofit. And so I knew that was going to kind of catapult me into something new. And I dabbled in my own thing. And then I went to a tech startup for podcasting. So that's, I know, right? Super fun. And then they ran out of money. As startups tend to do.
Yeah, right.
And so I learned all about that. And I happened to see a Facebook post for a marketing job in automotive. And I thought, why not? I've done everything else.
Right. And now here you are at NADA. It's your first NADA.
First NADA.
So I'm excited. I need to somehow be a fly on the wall the first time you walk into that exhibit hall and just take in the, it's like standing in Times Square a little bit. Has it settled in for you yet, though, that you are never leaving automotive?
I came to terms with that at my 1-year anniversary in automotive. That was in July this year. And I decided that I love this industry. I have made so many friends.
Yeah.
And that I know that the path I was on led me to here. And that I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
And that this is for me. And that was really actually comforting to know that despite the challenges of grinding hard every single day as a solo, marketing director in a dealership group, that I knew that I could bring change, that I could bring fresh ideas, and I can't picture myself outside of the industry at this point. So.
You brought up something as we were just chatting prior to recording that I want to touch on with you and get your vantage point on. You brought up like the need for properly implementing foundational elements of marketing, because in the sense I get is over the last 30 years in particular in automotive, similar to your trajectory in plastic surgery, it was like, oh, she's good at computers. Let's get her to do social media. Let's get her to be the marketing person. But from your vantage point now as a marketing director in this industry, what are some of the things that you're seeing perhaps the industry at large is still deficient in as far as marketing is concerned? And what are your thoughts about how to remedy that?
I think that, as you were asking me that question, that thought came to mind that I've noticed that when I'm out meeting other people in the industry and I'm talking to people that have been in automotive forever, or even people that grew up in it, right? And they were washing cars, they were the porter, and now all those things, is they don't know anything else. A lot of people that have been in automotive for a long time have amazing knowledge and wisdom about the industry that I will never have because of their tenure. But
until you have their tenure.
Yeah. It's coming, year and a half.
Right.
So, but the thing is that you can get rabbit hole. You can get stuck in your ways. And that's anybody in any industry. You can get very stuck. And I will never forget, and this is I'm going to go backwards to a story, but huge trade show with the plastic surgery group. And I had a new finance lady, and we would sell skincare at the show, and we had a cash box. It's just so silly. And we would take it home, and the girl who was going to be there the next day would drive it over to her house so that she could bring the cash box. And we had a new girl in finance, and she goes, why don't we just have a cash box for every day? And then we don't have to do that. And I looked at her and I said, well, because we've just always done it like that, right? That's what's happening in this industry. We've just always done it like that.
Right. We've
just always lived and died by our third-party leads. We've just always really cared about impressions and not interactions on our website. We live by the data that the vendor is telling us is important and not actually what is important, right? And people are still people. Humans are still humans. Shoppers are still shopping the way that they are as humans. And so I think that we can get lost in the minutia of all those things and forget that, people still want to be treated well. They don't want to get screwed over. They want to know that they're getting a fair deal. They want to work with a business that they can somehow relate to or they feel good about giving their money to.
Yeah.
All those things are still, very true. It's just maybe the methods of how we go about attracting that customer can be a little different. And we have to be open-minded to new things, but we also have to protect ourselves from, things that maybe aren't good for us or new ideas that haven't been vetted yet. And so I just see this, they, will jump on the latest, greatest thing without really any knowledge of why, or they just won't move and they're stuck and they're just scared and they're nervous because if I don't have 7 CTAs on my BDP, how is the customer ever going to value their trade, schedule a test drive, check availability, and tell me that they're interested and let me text them right away?
Yeah.
It's just, if you create an environment and you create the path that you want the customer to go on, they're just going to naturally follow it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we have to get back to and focus on is that user experience.
Yep.
And let that be kind of our launching pad for how we're going to do things as technology changes.
Hey, before we hop back into this episode of the Dealer Playbook, we got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, AutoFi. AutoFi helps progressive dealers like you sell smarter, not harder, on your dealership website and now in your showroom too. AutoFi solves the everyday problems dealers actually face, like bottlenecks at the sales desk, customer distrust, and decision overload. And their all-new showroom solution includes deal estimation, desking, lender routing, and an F&I menu, all in one powerful platform that bridges the gap between the CRM and DMS. Dealerships with AutoFi can manage the floor more efficiently, fast-track the yes, and make better lending decisions, enabling them to sell cars faster with higher satisfaction and more profit. In fact, deals with AutoFi take an average of 28 minutes from customer check-in to loan approval, and dealers are making $411 more back-end PVR per deal. Go to autofi.com/dealer playbook to learn more. That's autofi.com/dealer playbook and start selling smarter today. All right, let's hop back into this episode.
It's, when you look at it in everyday real life circumstances, what you're talking about, if you look at it in terms of an ice cream parlor, I know this is something everybody.
Ice cream. Why are you saying that right now?
I know. I don't know why.
It's breakfast.
Every person that has been walking by here in the background has inevitably had the same situation. I think you could relate to this, and I think it applies to what you're saying. We go into the ice cream parlor, and there's the big glass. We look through. There's 180 different flavors, and we love the idea of 180 different flavors until we have to make a decision. Paralysis. We're like, here's what happens. You can't see him. Emer's just sitting off camera here, and he's tuned in because he heard ice cream as well. And so now we're talking everybody's language. What happens is Emer, or the car shopper, inevitably goes, cookies and cream, please. You leave wondering,
Lovely.
But should I have gotten the Black Forest this?
Right.
Should I have gotten the, whatever? And so to your point, that many options on a website, what we don't realize is we might actually be deterring either that we made we feel confident in the decision we made, or that we just didn't lead them down a path. We led them down the path of indecision.
Yeah.
How many people are actually leaving our site because we just gave them too many options?
Yeah. And more is not more.
Right.
Unless it's money in the bank. I mean, that.
More is not more unless it's money in the bank.
Ooh, I think we'll put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. That's going to go on the back here. Love people more than you love cars.
But in all seriousness, more is not more on your website.
Yeah.
And in the showroom, clutter. There's so many things that you could apply that to, but less is better. Simplistic is better. Clean, modern, direct that customer to what they need because they're going to click on it. They're going to if they want that card, they're going to click on it to get more information. They're going to do whatever. And so, if I'm shopping on Target, there's not 7 different ways that I can tell Target that I want to buy that item online, right? Or that I'm interested in it, right? I just kind of cut to the chase. And we're not quite there yet in automotive because, I digress, digital retailing. But in all seriousness, we want to get them the most important information that they want quickly because we have the attention span of snails now as humans because social media has ruined us. I think that's what they said on CNN. But in all seriousness, right, like we need that information and we want it now. So we need to be designing our websites and I don't remember if it was a podcast, a video, or I don't remember what it was, but the guy said, if you imagine you're a website, but we're like humans and you're the website and I'm the customer, and you walked into the showroom and you clicked something and said, oh, I'm interested in this, and then I waited a minute and a half and just looked at you before I said anything. How awkward is that, right?
Yes.
So, just think about those digital interactions the way that you would want them in person and how you would handle that. And don't forget the human element. I think that people buying cars want to know that there's real people on the other side of that, It doesn't mean AI isn't good. It's just a matter of how we utilize those tools and the humans behind them. I think I went off topic there, but
what I'm understanding here, what resonates with me, Adrian, is it's not about what you have, it's about how you use what you have. All of us have websites. So the question then becomes, well, what is that more successful website doing that we're not doing with ours? Because they're both websites. Fundamentally, websites are a bunch of pictures and text formatted on a computer screen in a certain layout. They're all pretty much equal at that level, right? Yeah. But you're saying, no, it's not about just having a website. It's about what we are going to do to introduce a more human element through this already existing tool.
Yeah. You know what I just was reminded of when you said that is, again, I'm the new girl in automotive. I'm a year and a half-ish in. And one of the first things I did when I got there was I figured out every vendor we were paying money to. And I still have this giant white sticky note on the glass. And I listed them out and I thought, oh, great. I have to memorize what every single one of these do. And that's one of the days that I was meeting with Aaron Sheeks. And he was like, well, tell me about that list. And I said, oh, the best part about that list is my red Sharpie because I'm going to cut this list in half. And he looked at me like, oh, dang, and he was cheering for me, right? And I realized our dealership, and I know this is happening everywhere, and it probably is still happening where we are because we're managing so many things, but we had so many vendors participating in our digital strategy, and we weren't utilizing half of them to their potential.
Right.
I noticed so much redundancy because I was learning about what these products were, and I thought, why do we have 3 of the same thing, right? And then it was, I felt like a Band-Aid kept getting put on problems, and I was like, oh, well, there's a vendor for that piece, so we'll just get a new one. Instead of going to your current vendor and saying, hey, we'd really love to be able to, do this. Is that part of your capabilities? Do you have that coming, in your development plan? Like, is that option coming? Is that technology you're working on?
Right.
And so then we just go buy that little piece from another, and everything was just so parceled out.
Sure. Which, by the way, you're going to experience a ton of that at a trade show, right? A lot of sizzle, a lot of hype.
Right.
I'm not necessarily saying that it's all bad, but there is, especially when it comes to tech products.
Oh, yeah.
Tech is sold on hype. Why do you think Clubhouse even became a thing? I'm still shocked, actually, that they're figuring out how to keep that app afloat with all of the stuff I've heard about behind the scenes. But that's how it happens. It's all hype. To your point, though, what's, I'm picking up what you're putting down here, which is let's get a real lay of the land. Yeah. What are we working with here? Yeah. What is essential as it pertains to the destination we want to arrive at?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's maybe streamline budget, because you're right. I mean, I look at the level of adoption of a certain platform. If we're sitting at 40% adoption, like the disparity, like how much money are we wasting not utilizing the 60%?
Yeah.
And to your point, I think a lot of times dealerships in particular are spending so much money, wasting so much money, because they're only adopting about 10% of a given company's service roster or what their tool actually does because we bought into the sizzle.
Yeah.
How do you recommend effectively auditing that and starting to sift through the clutter, so to speak?
Well, first you hire someone that doesn't have a clue about automotive. And so then they just go, oh, this is a giant puzzle and there's like 5 pieces missing and one of them's a corner piece and it's driving me crazy. I have to figure this out.
Right.
But in all seriousness, I think that one of the things, and we kind of talked about this whole go back to the basics, right?
Yep.
Let's just rewind and let's go all the way back and let's just do an audit. Let's look at all of our third-party vendors. Let's look at every widget on our website. Let's look at all the maybe even digital or tools that we use on with the customer in the dealership, right?
Sure.
There's so many different things that we're using. Let's just do an audit. Let's make sure that we really understand what those companies offer. What are we paying for, right? Are we getting what we're paying for? Are we maximizing, that? And then just start, and it was like the elephant that I had to eat at the market, but 3 bites at a time.
Sure.
It wasn't a 1 bite at a time thing, but I just started dissecting everything and said, okay, I made that list of every single vendor. It was huge, and I started crossing them off. And then I started realizing, okay, so then when I went to Digital Dealer, and I knew that I wanted to replace our chat tool on our website. I wasn't really happy with it. And we were with one of the biggest ones. And I found a vendor, and everybody loves it. It was the greatest change. So it's just one little change, right? But it took a lot of research to get to the point where we knew why we needed to make a change, so that when you do speak to a new vendor, you know what your current one isn't doing and what you want them to do, right?
Yep.
So you can have that conversation. And then another thing is crawl all over your website. Click every CTA. Do it on an iPad. Do it on a Mac. Do it on a PC. Do it on your grandma's computer.
Seemingly unappealing work, but necessary.
Yeah. Do it from your Android and hate us.
Let's both break the fourth wall together. For those that are not watching, just listening, we are staring down the barrel of that lens.
Botox for like 11 years straight. But in all seriousness, let's just go back to the basics. Let's experience what our customers are experiencing, right?
Yeah.
I, as the new girl in the 2 dealerships where I'm at, I poked holes in everything. I asked so many questions, and I know there's no such thing as a dumb question, but I bet they thought, man, those are some dumb questions she's asking, right? But I needed to understand
But
it.
necessary questions. Now, but let me ask you, how many of those dumb questions did they not have an answer for?
Some of them they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't thought about it like me.
Yeah. Right.
I had a problem-solving strategy. I was literally combing through it. I was literally poking holes in every theory. Oh, well, we do this because of this. And I said, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? Why do you like that? What tells you?
Whatever is on the back end.
That it's
yes.
working. Right.
Whatever comes after the because is the hardest question to ask.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it was going through that process. Another thing that I did, this is so silly, but we were having some issues with the way photos were loading and the way they were going from our from the company that we are using to take the pictures on an app.
Yep.
And then they went into our inventory management system, and then they went to General Motors, and then they made it to our website.
Yeah.
Right. And all I knew was, well, I took the pictures and they're not on the website. And
if only there was a better way.
So I thought, okay, so I got out my big white piece of paper and I drew a little map and I took a little journey. And I said, okay, little picture, what happens after you get onto the Android they were using at the time? They're now using iPhone. What happens when they take that picture? Where does it go? And I drew a little map. It looked like Candyland, know, and the little picture went on a journey, and it had to make a pit stop at D2C2, which screwed everything up. And then
you don't say.
And then it eventually made it to our website, right? And then I found out, oh, there's this other third party that creates little buckets of our pictures, and that was faulty. And so it wasn't even the place we were taking the pictures. It was one of
this is something that had just been running on autopilot for so long that had you not investigated and did your Candyland map, your snakes and ladders or whatever you want to call it, would have not discovered, wait, but this is impacting how much we spend on ads, how far our ad dollars are traveling, speed to market. All of these sorts of things are now being impacted because nobody was actually investigating this.
The amount of money that you're spending on, vehicle ads, Google's vehicle ads, or VLA is what they used to be called. And then your pictures aren't populating, or
which means they're not going out. They're not being sent to that.
We're not talking about bad pictures right now. We're talking about the good ones not even making it, right? And how many people want to buy a car and there's not even a picture?
It's not merchandise.
A picture onto your website. Is it even there at the dealership? Right?
Crazy.
There's so many things, but I was thinking like a consumer, like a customer. How would I want to receive that ad? How would I want to receive that? So again, I just started dissecting things. I started just going working backwards, right? And it helped. It first of all taught me a lot, right? Doing all of that, grunt work was really important to really have a much better foundational understanding of what's happening behind the scenes with the tech and all the things that we're using. So I'm very thankful for that. And I think it was necessary for me. But it also was really telling for the other people that had been working at the dealership for a long time, the internet managers or the GSM or even the GM or the service director. And they just thought, oh, well, it's supposed to be on there. It's supposed to be working, right? But sometimes technology breaks and it doesn't work, or there's a bug or a glitch, and that's why you have to update your stuff. So it's just a matter of doing that legwork and going back to basics, right? Let's just know and understand how it works. And honestly, a lot of the vendors that they had in place for certain tools, they have had in place for 5 or 6 years. And I'm pretty sure technology has changed since the first time they signed their contract. Because when I buy a computer off the shelf at Best Buy, it's already out of date, right? So we have to continue to think like that. The vehicles we're selling are constantly being updated with technology. The way we sell them, we're going to have to do the same thing. And it's not the most fun work, but I think it's necessary.
And it's not the most fun work. In fact, it's incredibly boring work. But this underscores one other thing, just kind of a final topic here I want to cover with you as we come to a close. Yes, it's boring work. Absolutely essential work. Helps you uncover where your money's going, truly where your money's going. And then on top of that, you have to generate leads, oversee advertising to all third parties, digital ad, traditional advertising, website, SEO, graphics, promo creation, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all different disciplines within marketing. It is not conceivable in my mind to have a single person. Yes, you might know these things, but strictly on the terms of bandwidth, time it takes to execute. It is not feasible for a single person to be responsible to execute on all of those disciplines. How do you maneuver that? How do you navigate that?
Well, I don't sleep, and I I learned that whole bell-to-bell thing real quick in automotive. I worked a lot of long hours, and I still do. It sucks having a lot of skills that are transferable.
A very particular set of skills.
I hate that, I was a graphic design student in college and I can do those things. In the beginning, it was saving us money and, hey, I can do it. And sometimes it's faster to do it yourself than to get someone else to do it. But I am to the point now where I understand what I need to be successful in our team. And now we're talking about adding, and building out this team. It's a lot of people have vendors for all this stuff too, right? They have a graphic designer, they have a videographer. They pay a company to do their social media. Like you send all that out to subcontractors, and that's good too, right? But I think that when I first started, I thought, holy heck, how am I going to do this? And I just started doing it, right? Yeah. And I took the most important things and made sure those were my priority first. And boy, did I miss some deadlines. And I'm a perfectionist, and I have been told a few times, it doesn't have to be perfect, just turn it in. And I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't have to be perfect?
Did you not hear the part about me being a graphic design student in college?
Right.
I am a perfectionist.
Yeah. I am simultaneously a creative, but also a perfectionist, and I'm type A in a lot of areas. Don't come to my house. But in all seriousness, I think the details matter. The details, paying attention to those things of what got me so far in my career so far. And so I don't want to let go of that. Yeah. But now, having done all this research and understanding, now that I really know what are the areas that we really need to be managing more closely, where do we need some extra people? Where can I spread out that bandwidth, like what you were saying, and sharing some of those responsibilities so that I can be working on much higher level things and, continuing to steer our dealership in the next direction. And so that's a really hard conversation. And, I'm having to, help my GMs understand what the heck do I do all day, right? Because they just know, oh, you do the marketing. But they're not sitting with me every day. They don't know all the ins and outs. They know I do a lot because they see me here all the time, right? Yeah. And so it's a matter of, a new way of thinking. It's a matter of really understanding what do you need, because I think there's a lot of waste. Yeah. In certain dealership settings, there's a lot of people twiddling their thumbs because they're waiting for a sale or whatever. And so how do you leverage and get other people in the dealership to kind of buy in and support some of these other efforts and help make sure that everything is running smoothly? Like, for instance, having other people help you audit the website, right? Right. Those are things that we could do, right? I don't necessarily need to hire someone for that, but maybe I could get some other people to pitch in, right? Yep. So how can I just, do it more effectively with what I have? And then I really took a time to understand, what do I really need? Yeah. And what kind of support do I need? And what kind of results do I think that support would give me? And I'm actually in the middle of doing all of that, which is fun and scary all at the same time.
And isn't that the name of the game? When you start before you're ready, you just figure it out as you go. Yeah. This has been so much fun, Adrian. I want to thank you for joining me on the show. One final question. How can those listening or watching get in touch with you and connect with you?
Well, I am pretty popular on LinkedIn these days. I'm really active on LinkedIn and thankful to the community and you guys for embracing me. And so LinkedIn's great, Adrian Gibbs. We can put my email on there. I think my cell phone's even on my LinkedIn. I think that's this way. I mean, on Instagram, I'm Yo Adrian, because my name came from the movie Rocky.
Did it really? Yeah. Okay, well, that's a different podcast for a different day, but I need to know all of the details.
So, you could, find me on the socials.
Love it.
Whatever.
Okay. And before we wind down, I need to know, are you a marketing director? If you are a marketing director listening to this and you are picking up what Adrian's putting down and you are right there with us, I want to know your thoughts. What are you doing to prioritize and maximize your bandwidth? Join the conversation wherever you follow us on social. And of course, you can always send us an email, michael@thedealerplaybook.com. Would love to hear from you. Adrian Gibbs, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Dealer Playbook podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please subscribe, share, and hit that like button. You can also join us and the DPB community on social media. Check back next week for a new Dealer Playbook episode. Thanks so much for joining.